Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Talk Sports. It's a weekend sports program where we talk with the movers and shakers in sports, the sportsmen, sportswomen, administrators, coaches, just about everyone involved in sports. Well, this weekend, the countdown continues. Before we used to say junior CARIFTA Games, it's now just the CARIFTA Games. It's all junior athletes, that's track and field athletes. And it's just a matter of days before, the CARIFTA Games get into action in Grenada. But this weekend, we'll be looking primarily at the build-up to the CARIFTA Games based on what Mr. Moses, that's Mr. Aaron Moses, shared with us. And then also, we'll be looking at some of the other issues that we started to discuss, but somehow got a bit sidetracked and didn't get much onto it. But it has to do a lot with our sportsmen and sportswomen, and not just track and field athletes. Post-secondary school stage, what happens thereafter? And we'll be discussing that. Let me say a good afternoon. Well, it's afternoon in his neck of the woods, Rudian Sylvan. Good afternoon to you, Rudian, and how is Toronto today?
Good afternoon to you, sir. I think we are moving backwards in the weather instead of moving forward because spring was supposed to be 2 days ago, but what's outside is not spring.
It's a late
snow.
So you have
we had a major
winter,
snowstorm yesterday. Yeah, so I think we are moving backwards. So we're gonna go back to fall and then summer. That's the way it's looking.
All right.
But yeah, we have a major snowstorm yesterday, and the weather is nice. And like I said, but what can you do? It's Canada. Anything can happen with the weather.
Right. So as indicated, we have quite a bit to discuss. Well, the CARIFTA Games, as I said, upon us once again. It was as if it were just yesterday that the athletes were in the Bahamas, and they were celebrating 50 years of CARIFTA Games.
Yeah.
But in the coming days, the athletes and officials will begin arriving in the Spice Isle for its third staging of the games. Remember, Grenada hosted it Grenada's first time in hosting.
First time
was in
hosting,
2000, then in 2016. But based on all indications and what the deputy chairperson of the LOC, that's the local organizing committee, Mr. Aaron Moses, said on our program about 2 weekends ago, they are ready to host. I'm just repeating his words. They are ready. And so it's now for the spectators to take their seats at the stadium and the athletes to take the field from, based on everything, because most of the teams have announced most of the nations rather.
The teams have been selected. Yeah, teams have been selected.
And speaking about spectators, Rudy, and it's also a hope that those who, interested or who have an interest in the CARIFTA Games would have bought their tickets already and not waiting until a day or two before the start to inquire about tickets. That's the usual. We saw it for the intercall, where a day before they asked where they can find tickets and blah blah blah. When the information was out quite a while. As it relates to the CARIFTA Games, the information regarding tickets that have been out, months ago.
Yeah. Yes, it has been.
So if you have an interest, you should have had your ticket by now, or at least have some means of getting your tickets and not coming on social media and where tickets are available and blah blah blah. And we can't get tickets. And and in addition to that, it was announced a few weeks ago that there were certain sections that have been sold out. Right? So if the main pavilion, for example, sold out, then you can't be making noise about tickets not available when these things were out. And I recall it was Mr. Moses who was on the program the first time around when he said, please get your tickets early because there's always this instances where the folks from the Bahamas and Jamaica they buy their tickets in bulk.
In bulk. Yeah.
And there's nothing about holding back a block of tickets in, because you could hold back 500 tickets with the hope that you're going to buy it and then they don't buy it. You know.
Yeah. No,
It's
it's
a
about sales. It's about sales, and
buy
it's
tickets.
over the years we have this thing about us, and it's Grenadian, or if I may say, black people on a whole, this lateness, last minute. I think we need to come out from that, and I think we need to start by, even if you go to a show, if you put those people on right away, put them on. People, if you miss out, you miss out, and I think we need to change that attitude because, like I said, the ticket's been out for a long time. We see the same thing in
Well,
Intercall and the
well,
same
and
exact same thing.
except you have a major facility, that can host,
Yeah,
let's say, 20, 30,000, then I can
it's a
see,
different story. It's a different story.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can see you, you're
yeah,
making provisions, you're blocking, but it's under 10,000, and things like that. So if you have to sell your tickets, you sell your tickets. But
yeah.
and here is a footnote to all of that, Rudian. I have no broadcast links. I don't think you have any as well.
No,
As far as we know, Sportsmax is the rights holder, and the broadcast arrangements are discussed and agreed upon between the various stakeholders, which in this
yeah,
case will be NACAC, Sportsmax, and the LOC, which is representing the Grenada
maybe
Athletics
yeah,
Association. Folks, do not come asking me for links, streaming links and this sort of things.
yeah.
That upfront.
We
Let me
don't
tell
have
you that.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
have it.
I don't have. Okay. If it's available, then you probably will find it online. But same thing with Intercall, eh? The day of
Yeah,
Intercall, my timeline and messages and thing about links and no,
yeah. I
no,
had a few people call me and ask me
yeah,
about, hey,
no.
where can I watch it and where can I do that? And there's people from out here, people from the diaspora, and I understand, you know, um, because the entertainment is there in the sports, and like I said, it's just fun. Everybody wanted to see what's going on, but then it's not the primary school or neither the in-house secondary school sports where you're going to have somebody like Blazer, like recording, and you could get to see it, or have a lot of small people doing it. It's different now, so you have to kind of, there's places to go and purchase to watch it, and you do the necessary that needs to be done.
Right. So we have quite a few to talk about. So we look at the games, but there are a couple of things that taking place now. We have the boys and girls champs in
Champ.
Jamaica,
Yeah.
right? Inter-secondary schools athletics, ISA, right? Taking place in Jamaica, and we have a couple of Grenadians who are actually
Okay. Yeah.
participating, right? Mind you, some of them from actually Caracou, right? Doing pretty well. In fact,
Yeah.
there's one who can wrap up with the both. He's leading the javelin going into the final today and the shot put, right? So there is that possibility. And then there's also we have NJCAA basketball championship, and we do have a Grenadian who is leading his team, and it's for the first time leading a basketball team into the championship this weekend, right? And then there's some other things taking place I'm trying to recall. But just to let you know that in terms of bodybuilding, I got some information that a Grenadian-born US bodybuilder competed. His name is actually Akim Williams. He competed in the Arnold Classic UK 2024 championships and actually placed third.
Oh,
He got the bronze. Yes, he
impressive.
got the
Oh,
bronze in that. Akim Williams. So good news in terms of bodybuilding.
oh.
We do have some strong men. It's
Yeah,
not
we
just
do
you
have
and
some job, man.
it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not just
No, no,
you
no.
and, um, and our good friend Colin Peters. Okay, we do have some others out there. Yeah.
No, we do.
So
And
that
there's
is
a
it.
young man. There's a young man that I grew up with, definitely from the heart of Hotels, who is also a bodybuilder and represent OTA. You get to a lot of major competition and do very well on the international stage as well. So
Right. And
Definitely,
talk
it's a good thing. Yeah.
and talking about that as well, let me just there is a boxer in Canada who his name is Tristan Brooks. He actually is Grenadian. And from all reports, he has had 6 professional bouts and he have won
Mm.
all
Wow.
6. And they believe he is one that can qualify. Well, if he was given the opportunity, I don't know with the boxing situation in Grenada with the 2 boxing
Yeah.
associations, that he can at least do well at the Paris Olympics,
Olympic
right?
Games. Yeah.
Yes, he's standing by, ready to represent Grenada. He's
To
just not been
represent.
given
Yeah.
the
The
opportunity. He has
opportunity. Yeah. Yeah.
in the qualifiers, right?
Yeah.
So that's what. So one of the things we want to talk about as well, as we said, is the post-secondary school activities or whatever engagements of our sportsmen and sportswomen, right? We know, Rudian, and there have been some discussions on social media regarding the whole issue with the TAMCC, the TA Marshall Community College, etc. And I think again, people need to read into things, right?
Yeah.
Read into things. The scenario with the TAMCC, and which is sort of unique in that we do not have that many tertiary institutions in Grenada. Albeit
No.
we have TAMCC, we have NULO to an extent, and we have St. George's University.
Yeah.
All 3 basically operating on their own, right? A couple of years ago, the then National College, which is now T.A. Marshall Community College, participated in the Intercol Championships. Well, I understood that it didn't really materialize future down because there were principals who believed that their participation was taken away from the secondary schools points and all these sort of things. So it was all about winning. I thought it was not just winning, but at least giving our athletes the opportunity to compete as well. Okay, and saying that we're not, and listen to what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to bring across the point that because of our circumstances, especially with our tertiary institution, right? For example, in Jamaica, and we like to make the comparison with Jamaica, they do have a couple of colleges, right? They do have, apart from Mona as University of the West Indies, they have some other colleges, tertiary institutions. So they can probably have, that among themselves. But in the Grenadian context and in the short term, to get our athletes, because what is happening, it's a level of frustration among these young sportsmen and sportswomen. And again, it's not just track and field. And then again, we do not have that proper club structure in Grenada. Again, people might say, why do they go into clubs? But for years now, we have been appealing for
Yeah.
clubs and proper club structure. And then even if you do have that, then you will find most of the clubs are concentrated in a particular area. For example, if you look at track and field, most of the track and field clubs are in St. George's area, right?
Yeah.
So you see where it lies in terms of that, where for someone from the T.A. Marshall Community College probably living in St. Patrick or living in St. Andrew, who may not, well, I'm not certain about the ACEs as it is now, right? But we had ACEs before. Then you have Trailblazers in St. David, right?
Yeah.
It means that you will have to get into their program, right? Or if not, you have to find a club in the St. George's area, right?
Yeah.
What's about those in St. Mark's, for example? So while we are appealing for and by the way, and some of the folks who are debating the issue, they're not making the effort, you understand, to organize clubs or whatever it is like that, but they're saying, okay, why not go into a club or whatever? But you can try to organize a club in your area, right? And then there are like things like Hurricane Sports Club, for example, Paradise, albeit it's just football. If they can structure in such a way that they can have football, not just football, but they can have track and field, they can have basketball, they can have cricket, as a proper club structure in itself. Then we may be able to talk about, the clubs and things. But when it comes to sports in Grenada, especially track and field, let's look at track and field for now. It is primarily school based. Because when you look at intercall in itself in terms of participation, and then you look at things like national champs and even the Whitsuntide Games, you find in most schools than clubs. We do have a couple clubs, but the schools most times they outnumber the clubs. So unless we have proper club structure, we will have to find ways of having these sportsmen and sportswomen, whether it's track and field, whether it's football, whatever, be engaged, right? And the idea was just as how they had the issue with the National College some years ago, having the athletes participate, they can have them participate. By the way, our athletes who are participating in Jamaica, they are considered to be sixth formers, right? They are considered to be sixth formers in Kingston College, in St. George's College, in Edwin Allen, and all of these. They are considered sixth formers. They are completed secondary schools, right? So I don't understand. Let me hear your take. You heard mine. Let me hear your take, and then I'll probably get my friend from St. Lucia, Terry, to chime in on that, because I know St. Lucia may still have the same issue. By the way, Terry, I hope you are making the journey to Grenada next week. Rudian? You're stuttering there, boy.
I don't agree with the Tom CC company in Intercol. I think it have to start with changing of the school system. I think the Ministry of Education have to change by extending high school. Just as we talk about Jamaica, and they're going on to do X subjects. And they're going up to sixth form, and they have a 6A and 6B, or 5A and 5B, something like that. And I think that's what it should be. I think that's where it should start, by having the kids stay back. They can do more subjects. Most of these kids, when they finish school, they are 16 years old, 15 years old, for going back in the days, which is still the same, because they get into high school at a pretty young age, and they're not fully mature yet. And albeit, like we said, that then you have the kids from the rural parishes who get into the two St. George's, and they have to, go down there every day to go to school. I think that should happen. I've been saying it for a long time. The structure of high schools should change by extending high schools. And in that one way, the kids don't have to do 6, 7 subjects at one time. They can do 5, they can do 4, they can do 3, focus on that. And then the next year, they can continue doing another 3, and so forth. Especially those in sports, those who are talented enough to get a scholarship, and if that's the case. And that's what I think should happen. I think it should be the structure of the school system should change. High school.
So you believe this the structure should change, right?
Yeah, structure should change.
Okay. Arthur James, please have some respect, please. You're not so much welcome on my program, okay? Please have some respect. Arthur James, thank you very much. Okay, let's continue with our discussion there. Certainly. So if you say that, right, in the short term, because a lot of things that you talking about here now are things that
it's long term. It's stuff that it wouldn't happen overnight.
So I'm asking you now, what do you see as the short term solution? Because
the solution I see, that the possibility that can happen is, you see what the councils, they are putting the parish, every parish now will have a council and put things together in terms of sports. And I think that's where it should start. So every parish, those smaller parish, St. Patrick's, St. Mark's, they could have their own track and field club in a parish aspect. St. Andrews and bigger, they could have two clubs in that area. And then took us St. George's could even have up to three different clubs. St. Mark's, St. John's could have one club. Then we have that, and I think that's what it should be right now. I think if the system will be the same, it should be through the new sports policy that's coming out with it adding, where the parishes will have the opportunity to put things in place. That's what I think it should be. And once they do that, then you could have meets upon meets upon meets. You could have it in the grass, you could have it in the stadium, you could have different things, different competition. And having a track meet doesn't mean you have to have a full, you just have to be sanctioned by the Ministry of Sports. And then you don't have to have every single event. You could have a track meet without the 100, the 400, the 1500, and other things. It doesn't have to be the same thing, and they have competition to go through. I think that's what's lacking. One of the things that's really lacking is competitions.
Yeah, Rudian, I understand all of that, but I'm certain what you're speaking about there is nothing new. There probably might have been a lot of things on the table for discussion, and we are seeing year after year very good talents, right? As a matter of fact, intercall after intercall, you're seeing talents, and then you're asking what happens after. For
What
example,
happened to them? Yeah.
I looked at a photo of Westerhall Secondary School 4x400 meters relay team of a few years ago. In fact, that relay team went to the 10 relays, and they did pretty well as a small school, right? In the small school category. And if you ask me right now, where are these athletes? None of them actually involved in track and field. Young, talented, none of them. In fact, I spoke to one about a year, 2 years ago. And, when I asked him, he said, listen, I just don't want to speak about that, I'm talking about the frustration, right? And you're speaking about, especially if in our scenario where not everyone will receive, let's say, a scholarship to attend, a U.S. university, whatever, community college, etc., etc. So the best option most time at the TMR should community college. Yeah. What happens there after? That is, and I understand the whole issue about the competition and all of that. And mind you, I still maintain while there's a level of competitiveness, and I know, the rivalry among the schools, sometimes I think we move away completely from the whole issue of developing our athletes. Okay. I think I saw a parent, for example, making some comments on social media during the intercall period about a school, and her daughter, I think it was a daughter, participating and was basically chastising the school because it's all about winning, and that was her thing. And she was saying never again, and I think sometimes that's just the level of frustration. Okay. However, I still believe that while there's that rivalry, and I understand, I mean, it comes with a lot of bragging rights and all these sort of things.
Yeah.
There must also be some focus on the developing of the athletes, because some of them certainly will want to be, a Kirani James, a Aline Francie, Hazelland, etc., etc. Okay. But the current structure, and not taking away anything from what you said, because obviously if what you say put into place and, tweak or whatever it is, it's something that can, solve some of the problems. Right?
Here's a question, Michael. Why TMR cannot have their own track meet?
Well, they used to have the interdepartment meets, right? They used to have the interdepartments, intermural, interdepartment meets and things. And I recall that. But there isn't a proper sports structure. And by the way, that is what we are talking about as well, in terms of in the short term, but in the long term, a proper sports structure for the TMR to college. Yeah. And by the way, it's not just about track and field. Let us say that.
No, but we speak about track and field, right? We speak about track and field. because track and field, it's harder to do other sports. It's easier to do track and field.
No, but hold
It's
on.
harder.
No, but well, but what like for example, football, right?
Yeah.
T.A. Marshall Community College participated in the GFA as a football team,
Team.
right?
Yes.
I remember with Coach Nat Simpson, right?
Mhm.
And things like that. So football was organized.
Yeah,
But
I remember that too. Yeah.
I'm talking about cricket, basketball. Well, yes, we do track and field, and we will spend a little time and focus on track and field. You'll find most of the time we focus on track and field because track and field seems to have a better structure in terms of competition, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And it relates a lot to the intercall, and these sort of things, right? But I'm looking at various sports, right?
Yeah.
The involvement in various sports, and it's also an appeal for the authorities at the TAMCC to look seriously at the development of these talented sportsmen and sportswomen. By the way, you get it every year. You get it all these talents, right?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Whether it's
From
SAS or
every single
McDonald
sports.
College,
Every single sport.
every single sport you get in them.
Yeah.
But nothing has been done. So I'm
And
saying,
that's the thing. And that's what I'm saying. That's where the challenge will come in. One, because you have your own school. Now they could have their own netball program. They could have their own cricket program, and they can play amongst the other schools. It doesn't have to be in a competition where they get a trophy in the end of the year. But they can play. They can compete. You know what I mean? They could have their own thing, and they can compete. And that's where the challenge come in, because no, you cannot put the college, you cannot turn the college into a high school system. You can't do that. You cannot say, well, okay, now we got to have 4 different colors now, and in the old days you pick and see what school you go to, what color you go to, and so forth. No, college wouldn't. I don't accept. I wouldn't accept that in the college system. However, like I said, track and field is easy. You could have your own track and field meet. They could compete amongst each other. You could have several meets, and other schools or other teams, if they want to come in, get invited, and then now you have several meets happening. But it's more challenging for the netball, for the cricket, for the football, for the volleyball, because now you have one team and who the team will compete against. And that's where the challenge will come in for the other sport. But in track and field, I think they can have their own meet at any stadium, the grass or the field or the track. So that there is a challenge there. But the school itself have to have that. The school itself have to have the system. The school itself have to put this in place. We can talk about it as much as we want until they put something in place and they say, yes, it is time for us to put something, for tons of sports for the athletes to continue with their career. There's nothing we can do. We can speak about it over and over and over. Nothing will, unless they say yes, then we could go in and say, well, this is the right way. Try this, do this, and then some schools, and probably even get involved in intercall. But they don't have anything there until they do that. Then it's just one.
Yeah, but I guess it's not the students that basically
have to, and they have to want it. Yeah,
I'm saying the students are their own perils, because unless the authorities do something, and by the way, this appeal for the structured sports program in the TAMCC is not something new.
No, it's been for years.
It has been years now.
Yes,
right? And and by the way, we had some good administrators who actually in the TAMCC, but I don't know what it is, what influence they have. Because, for example, Dwayne Gill, the current president of the Grenada at Cricket Association, albeit he has a few more days remaining as he limits office, right? And then we had Cyril Cox, also the TAMCC. We had this former cricketer, Grenada and Windward Islands cricketer. So we had people who are affiliated to the TAMCC, but I don't know what influence they have in terms of the whole restructuring of sports at the institution. But let me take
and even though Michael, just expanding too, and even if they have something, those structures could happen where different colleges across the region could come in and they can play against different across the region, and then you could
Yeah, but
have a
hold on.
college
Yeah, but hold
championship
on.
amongst the
Only how you
region
could
as
do
well.
that. The only how you could do that is if you have a structured
Yeah, yeah,
sports
yeah. No,
program.
definitely, definitely.
So that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. I'm saying
yeah.
unless they do that, by the way, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying unless they do that, what we will have is just a wastage of talents over the next few years, because it appears that even after, well, I recall writing something back in 2014, right? And I'm certain there might have been instances of appeals and things prior to that. This is 10 years plus now. Nothing has been done.
Nothing have
And
done be done.
a lot of track of sportsmen and sportswomen have just gone through the cracks. What can we do in the interim if nothing is done?
Yeah,
If nothing is done, what can be done in the meantime
yeah.
to ensure that these young talents are nurtured, right? What can be done? We keep saying that blah 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 blah, but if there isn't a structure in place to do all that you said there, we
Everything
just
we just
everything.
speaking day after day after
Yeah.
day to have a
So
conversation.
so
Yeah,
let's go. Some comments here now. Intercall is given the face of being school-based, but 99% of the top athletes at Intercall are enrolled in clubs. Leave TAMCC out of the Intercall and create a meet for the tertiary institutions. UE Open, TAMCC, Nulo, PAM, and St. George's University. PAM is what? Mothers? Well, young mothers. So if and again I'm saying if they're not on the same page, right?
there's nothing we could do.
Then there's nothing that could be done. I mean, all of that about the tertiary institutions, that could add up
Mm-hmm.
to nothing.
To be
If
nothing.
they are
Yeah.
not on the same page, then,
Mhm.
obviously
And
St. George's
and
University.
this can be such big. This can be such a big thing. Then I mean, if these people if they can see the future, they're talking about an OECS thing, talking about the
Well,
different colleges in the
ag-
OECS, coming together
again,
and do something together. But if
again,
they have nothing,
really, it again, it highlights as well the importance sports is played, the important, sports is played in terms of, because as you recall, we were talking about a few months ago in terms of sports when it comes to the budget. If you
yeah,
have to cut, if you have to cut, sports is one of them you look at to
sports is
cut. You're not
sports is the
cutting health,
first.
you're
Number
not
one,
cutting
sports is the
education.
first. Sports is
The
the first to
first,
cut.
the first
First
on
to
the
cut.
table will be sports.
Yeah,
So it
every
again,
sports.
it points to the focus. And are
Yeah.
we serious about sports? What is the aim of sports in small islands like Grenada and St. Lucia and St. Vincent and things like that? So where we see so many of the young people gravitating towards the social ills. Okay, how can we use sports as a vehicle? But
It's a tool.
we might be just backing up the wrong thing. Joanna Paul is saying we may have a challenge with the age categories for TAMCC and the secondary school to call, but on the other hand, TAMCC needs to have a structured program for athletics, so students coming to TAMCC will prepare knowing that their athletics ability can continue. Certainly, and that is,
No, no,
I think
definitely.
that is the point. A structured
Yeah.
sports program, and where it can encompass various sporting disciplines. And then, in addition to that, adding to what Mike Batiste is saying in terms of the other tertiary institutions, UE Open Campus, because if UE Open Campus probably doesn't even have anything in terms of a sports structure, right? So they have to be on the same page. They have to be thinking the same thing for something like that to materialize.
To materialize. Yeah.
It starts with TAMCC to an extent because they have the bulk of these young talents, right? Especially the Grenadian talents. SGU to an extent, but remember they have a lot of foreign students
Foreign
and things like
students.
that, and they may not have an interest in sports because a lot of them they're doing other programs. Well, yes, outside of
Yeah.
medical, they have
Yeah.
other
Mhm.
degree
But they
programs.
might be interested, and some of them
No, no,
might be
no,
interested.
no. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just
Yeah, yeah,
saying
yeah. I'm
it
just
it,
saying.
it,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it would not be the sort of numbers that you may have at the TAMCC,
At
for
the
example.
TAMCC.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
right.
wouldn't. Yeah.
Because a lot of them may have their focus on the academic side. There will be others. In fact, there are those who I know. A few years ago, SGU participated in the basketball tournament, in the GNBA tournament. They had a team because, as it relates to the American school system, basketball is big, right?
Yeah.
So things like that. But mind you, we might find a few of them who have an interest in track and field, right? Football, well, our football, they call it soccer, and other sporting. But I'm saying when it comes to the TAMCC, I think there might be more interest and there might be more numbers, right? I'm not seeing, we mentioned PALM, for example, which deals specifically with mothers. So that might be a sort of gender base in itself because it's strictly mothers, okay? And then we also have NULO. All of them have to be on the same page, right? And once that happens, then we can see how it goes. Another comment here. One of the athletes who went to Penn Relays told me he was to be offered a scholarship and he was shut down by a prominent person involved in sports today. That might be hearsay, Mike. That might be hearsay. Yeah. I think they can allow TAMCC to compete in various school competitions. If we're thinking winning, I don't think TAMCC would have the athletes to compete with the various colleges. And then Karen Batiste, exactly. They can have their own track meet and then compete in the open national track and field meet. It has to start with a structured athletic program at the TAMCC. This has been a discussion for too long and nothing has been done. Nothing is still being done. So I'm asking again, what happens if nothing is done? What happens?
I think it comes down to the athletes and the students have to have a push on their side. They have to want to drive it as well and pushing it to the administration.
Right.
And I think they need to have that boldness of petitions and to definitely have that. And I think they would. And it will do another thing too, Michael. They will have more students going to TAMCC. The numbers will grow. Numbers will grow
when you have a structured program, right?
If you have something structured, structured, the numbers will grow. Because like I said, it is a challenge for some parents or some families to send their child to TAMCC from St. Patrick's. The distance also said max, even if it's free.
No, but isn't there a where do they have the out campuses? Is there one in St.
There is one in St. Patrick's, but they may not have the program that person may want to get into.
Okay, right.
So you're still dealing with a lot of that. And however, you just have to work with what they can do, but it will open up more for those more students to not stay home after high school, not continue their education, but to get into things.
So Quincy Jones said, so then what happens to athletes after TAMCC? Quincy,
two things will happen to them.
Quincy could answer that too,
He probably can. Yeah. But a lot of things can happen. A lot of things can happen. And they will have another 4 years. I don't know how long is TAMCC school for. Another 2 or 4 years to compete in the sport, and if they're really serious about it, then the opportunity for them to move on small colleges in the US or other areas to further their education.
Yeah. Wow. I have a couple. So Terry finished there saying, Terry's from St. Lucia, and he's saying they saw Arthur Lewis Community College in St. Lucia used to have an intercall with TAMCC and others, but competition level was still low. So even what you suggested there, it appears that
yes,
even
but that was level, but here, Michael, how long ago was that? We gotta look at the timing too, and we gotta look at the interest too. It's not just saying yes, we want to do this. We gotta have the interest from the student. As I said, the students is the one who gotta want to initiative that push, because in the end, if something is not working out, then the administration could say, well, the student wanted it, and then there's no interest in the students, so we gotta shut it down. But if the students are interested, the student will be pushing it, and the numbers can be growing. Because like I said, how many students we have today out of intercol that's moving on to a college or a university in the United States?
Okay.
And we have very talented kids competed in intercall. They would not have the opportunity to go because maybe of connections, maybe because of the whatever finances they may have to come up with and they don't have it. It could be other little things that are stopping them. However, you look at the numbers. How many kids is moving on in any sport? Not only in track and field, but in any sport.
In sports, yeah.
In any sport, and then what, like I said, then that means the interest is there now today more than it was yesterday, because as my understanding now, to get into Tom CC is it's a free college. Before it wasn't free. So now, because it is free, you cannot then see, there might be more interest of student athletes who may want to continue.
All right. Let's say good afternoon to you, Pastor Stevenson Worm. Thank you very much. And Pastor Worm, sooner or later, you'll have to have a date with us again. Eh? Yeah, but good afternoon. He's saying, Michael, it's also important for TAMCC to get its act together in regards to sports. And he's referring to Nat Simpson, Cyril Cox, and Anthony Dixon. That's who I was referring to. Anthony Dixon worked together very well for many years, but only Anthony Dixon remains today to work with the college. We should not blame the intercol authorities for not having TAMCC on board. So that was Nat Simpson in terms of football. We had Cyril Cox, who was basically in track and field and basketball. And then we had Anthony Dixon in cricket, right? And that is what I was referring to a few years ago when there was a program that was kind of working together. And somehow the TAMCC, I should say, didn't really have much interest in that. Okay, I didn't think they saw the need for sports at the college, because look, you had these people involved, and in addition to that, you even had Dwayne Gill as a sports administrator himself. So you had a cadre of people who were involved to an extent, and somehow things fell apart. And even after all these years, they have been making appeals and appeals and appeal for the TAMCC to have its program structured in such a way to encompass our young talents who are coming into the college in their droves every year. Nothing has been done. Even with different boards, different administrators at the college, nothing has. And it just shows you it's almost as if they have a template when it comes to sports, right? Because I can't see. It's not that you have to go out and recruit, eh?
Yeah,
just by the name TAMCC, and as the major tertiary institution, you're getting them.
You're getting them, yeah.
You're getting them, So it was not a situation where you're wondering whether you will be able to have the talents, you're getting them. In fact, the school's already preparing them for you. They come in prepared. You're seeing them at the various meets, whether it's intercol football, whether it's netball, whether it's basketball, cricket. You're seeing them there, and most of them gravitating towards the TAMCC, but somehow it's just not, playing into them. The only structure the TAMCC can have competition against other Caribbean colleges, which going to need funds to do so, because there would have to be lots of traveling. And Pastor Merriman is saying, so is this only going to be open to TAMCC or all other tertiary schools? That's what we have been saying, basically. We have been focusing on the TAMCC because of the interest in the TAMCC, but as they indicated earlier, the other tertiary institutions, even though it may be a sort of disadvantage to them to an extent, but they also can be included. By the way, the discussion too while we have been throwing in the whole issue about the intercall and all these sort of things, that is not the real answer. What we're really trying to do is to engage these people in time.
Yeah.
Until such that there's a structure in
Time
place,
in
we
place. Yeah.
need to see how we can engage them, right? Whether through whatever means necessary. We have to find that because we're losing them. Okay. People like Merriman and others who would have gone through the various school system and colleges and things like that understand probably the frustration that some of these youngsters are having, especially those who haven't had the opportunity like them, right? Who have been able to get a scholarship, whether it's in football, basketball, track and field, etc., etc. They're at home, and it's sort of frustrating that they're not getting the opportunity to participate, and not
Hmm.
just and let's us not just focus on intercall, participate in general, because when it comes to track and field, it's few, right? After intercall, as we know, the next for those who are not participating in the CARIFTA Games, who have not been selected, the next
That's
thing
it.
for them will be the national. Well, no, they have the relays,
Yeah.
and then you have the Whitsuntide Games, and that's it. The season end, and most times we want these same athletes to compete against others who are competing almost every weekend.
Mhm.
It's sort of unfair, but that's it. By the way, folks, someone asked me during the week what it is that get us to be talking about sports almost every weekend. And Rudy and I think I answered for you. It's just we love it. It's in our blood, right? We love it.
It's lovely.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we share some information that, to give some information to others who don't have it.
yeah. Mona is saying that's Richard Mona. These people are not patriotic. Bottom line, it comes down to Grenada. Why are they so critical about these young people? Give them a break. Hercules is saying, I don't see why these schools cannot compete. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Hercules. So what about the other athletes from the other sporting disciplines? Are we going to allow them to play in school sports as well? Not well. Merriman, just to clear it up, I mean, intercall was just one avenue that was used to discuss, but I don't think that's, again, it's not the answer, right? Um, having them participate. So it may not necessarily be intercall, but just them being integrated into the
Well,
sporting structure. And
into the sport structure, yeah.
at the same time, and I'm saying that as sort of short term, but if we can back up to what Rudian was speaking about earlier, and it's something that we have been talking about, is ensuring that the TAMCC and the other tertiary institutions and ensuring that they have a sports structure, a proper
Sports
sports structure,
program, proper
yeah,
sports program.
within their institution, the sports program within their institution, so that they can be able to participate in whether it's GFA, GNBA, GNA, GCA, you know, and things like that. So, but intercall was just one of those things that was thrown out in earlier discussions and things. But the whole idea is to get these tertiary institutions that have these young sportsmen and sportswomen, right, to have a proper sports program structured properly that they can be able to participate and integrate it into the sports system in Grenada, and not just depending on some of them hoping that they get into clubs, etc., etc. Yes, clubs will be a good asset in terms of that, but at the same time, the school itself, whether it's TAMCC, whether it's SGU, whether it's NULO, they should also have a sports program whereby they can participate. NULO, I knew, participated in a couple of sporting activities before. I think it was NULO in basketball, maybe in volleyball as well. But again, it's just here and there, once in a while, these sort of things. We need to
Yeah.
see a proper speech program. And as we indicated earlier, there are certain things that they can do in the short and long term with the hope that you have a proper structure going forward and where you can integrate these young sportsmen and women that come in, every year.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
Um,
have them for at least 2 years,
uh,
Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, because
maybe
if it's a 2 year program, minimum of 2 years, so much can happen in there. But the idea is to have that program, and once you have that program, then everything else will get in place. We want to talk about the end part of it than speaking the beginning part of it. The beginning part is have the program. You have the program, then you get the athletes, then you find, or you figure the finances. So you have to have something, and then you figure it out as you go before you could say it's official. Say yes, we're looking to have it. Then you look at every other aspect about it. If there is nothing, we talk about the finances, we talk about this, we talk about that, we talk about the travel, but all of that mean nothing if you don't have
Mhm.
a program, or at least the
Yeah.
idea or the pursuit of starting a program.
Yeah. Sharon is saying, Rudian, once an athlete goes to TAMCC, they no longer has 4 years eligibility abroad. As it stands, they only have 2 more years left. Yes, we fully aware. And at the same time, not all of them, they have an interest in going
I'm interested in going, yeah.
overseas or going abroad. I may get the opportunity to go, and think. And
And
some
that's when I talk about, and Michael, that's when I really stress about the age. That's what I was saying in terms of the schools, the high schools
Mhm.
should have those programs to extend high school. So you don't have a kid now going and say, I'm doing 5 subjects now. I'm talking about an athlete, student athlete. Oh yeah, I'm going to do 10 subjects. They can do 5 because they have the possibility to come back next year and do another 5 so that they don't leave high school at the age of 16. They could stay there. And I'm only saying that because, yes, I've been in the system here, teaching the system here in Canada, where high school kids here finish at 19. They're adults, they can vote, they can move on. And you see it in the United States too. That is there. So they're going, because a 16-year-old going to college in the US competing against somebody who is 25. There's no age difference in college sports. You all is on the same level.
Yeah.
So if we have those athletes and they go to TAMCC, and as talented as they are, they're not mature enough. And if that key thing, maturity, to get to the university level at the age of 17 to go there, and then you're competing against somebody who's 25 years old, you're shaking.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But here's a point here. Is the United States the only option? And that's the point I'm making again. It's not the only option, because there
No, it's not.
may be folks who may want to go to the UK, for example,
Yeah.
right?
And even Spanish in France, in Canada,
Yeah.
the universities here too now in Canada are giving out scholarships now here in Canada.
Yeah, and I'm saying the system
Yeah.
about the eligibility, etc., may be different in other nations than the US. So we cannot just focus on the US.
No.
We have basketballers, for example, that have gone out to Europe. Some of them may have go through the US and then move on to Europe. But it's not just the US. Ensuring that our sportsmen and sportswomen get that opportunity to excel, because as we see now, some of the athletes in Jamaica, for example, would have gone to the US and then after a year or two returned to Jamaica.
Come back.
Right? Yeah, they returned to Jamaica. They are now doing their schooling, their tertiary education in Jamaica, and they're training and competing in Jamaica.
In Jamaica, yes.
We are seeing US athletes now moving to Jamaica and training as well. The dynamics have changed a bit from probably 10, 15 years ago, where everything was to the US.
They see the same thing in soccer. A lot of US kids now go to England, going to Spain, going to France, and compete. And then you hardly see a lot of African kids traveling now, because their program now is at another level where they keep them home. So it's like, again, it's a whole different system. But when you look at the United States, you look at the budget that they have. Schools have the budget to bring in a certain amount of athletes. Other places may not have that. So yes, we talk about the US, but they are not the only country option. There is a lot of options.
Yeah. Certainly, the dynamics have changed over the years.
But then there is certainly, Michael, there's certainly the idea of going to TAMCC. It limits you for coming to a country like Canada and go back to high school because of your age. Because many times, if you finish high school in Grenada and you come here, they will put you back in high school, not because of your level of academics, or because of your age. And that's something they do here. I don't know about the United States, but I know they do this here in Canada.
let's say some comments again coming in. Narissa Wells is saying, good afternoon, Narissa. Maybe they can have a first year program at the secondary school level where they can obtain credits towards a degree for folks eligible to
Yep.
attend TAPCC,
Yep.
so that the 6th year in a secondary school is more beneficial for the athletes who choose to return. Now,
Yep.
it's similar to an extent because our athletes who are attending school in Jamaica is considered as sixth formers because
Exactly.
they
Yep.
have, in some instances, some of them have 7, 8, 9 subjects already, right?
Yep.
And they're doing another 3 or 4, whatever it is, right? And things like that. But they're considered sixth formers because they would have done, in some instances, 2 years of secondary school, right? And they're doing what could consider a third year in Form 5, or well, it
Yeah.
is a Form 6 now and things like that.
Mhm.
So Narissa, that's another thing that in terms of the program that can be considered, right? Um, the first year, right? So that is Joanna Paul comes. She is back again to say one has to ask the question: is physical education training for competition in TAMCC a priority or part of their policy to do so? As said earlier, so far their main focus is academics, and that is how some of the lecturers see it. Um, Good
And that's why they
question.
have to. Very good question. And that's what I was saying. I remember last year we talked about that, and I said, why do Tom CC have to have a sports program? They don't have to do nothing. They can do whatever they wish to do. We on the outside here would like to see our sports program, but they don't have to do absolutely anything because they are not identify themselves as a sporting discipline. We would like to see that for the benefit of the students. That's what we want. But they don't have to do anything. But they have to have that. They gotta want to have that. They gotta want to have that program. They gotta want to have a sports program. And then they bring in the necessary coaches, and then and then they build out from that, and then good things can come from that. Funding can come from so many places. It does. You see, there's certain things that you can get, but you have to have it first, or have the intention of getting it so that you can work on it, and then you're going to see where everything coming in. But when you just flat out have nothing, like I said, we can talk until the roosters come home. Nothing is going to happen until they want to do it.
All right. Here is now some information regarding, before I go on to some of the other comments here. And I was speaking about Enid Saint Bernard, who is the basketballer participating in the
Today.
NJCAA
Yeah.
Division One men's basketball. So his college is Panola College in Texas. The Panola Ponies, they're seeded number 15, and they're participating in the NJCAA Division One. That's the men's basketball Division One championship this weekend, March 24th, which starts tomorrow, through the 30th. So the entire week, NJCAA. And his participation, basically, I must give credit to that. The Kellon Batiste Foundation, Inc., that got him actually that scholarship. And he is doing pretty well at the Panola College in Texas. So for those of you who follow basketball, the NJCAA Championship Men's Division One basketball tournament this week, starting tomorrow. And look out for the Panola Ponies and Enel Saint Bernard. Sorry, he is actually leading the team. And from what Kyron told me, who is actually on his way to Kansas to look at him play, is that he's the first Grenadian to lead a basketball team into an major US championship, right? Which is good. So congratulations, Enid, and all the best, as you lead your team into that. And then Kyron says, this is about to change. The elite student athletes coming out of these competitions and games will have their opportunities as they do exist. We have to continue to network and tap into those opportunities, right? And Quincy says, the biggest issue for TAMCC students is lack of events to compete for the athletes. Hence, to create a quick turnaround, I think it would be best to have more competitions for the athletes especially within the months of March to June. Then later, we can create some form of structure within the tertiary institutions. To my point of what happens to athletes after TAMCC is that some of the athletes may not get the opportunity to get picked from schools outside of Grenada. That's the $1 million question and answer, right? Because his thing is that, and that's what I'm saying. What happens to those who do not get the opportunity to, for example, you didn't get the opportunity to be selected on the CARIFTA team. As talented as you are, obviously there are some who are better than you, so you didn't make the cut, right? But you have the talent. You don't have an opportunity as others to get a scholarship to go to, college in the US, etc., etc. What happens? And that is his question, especially for those who want to continue to train and compete and things like that. By the way, you can continue to train, but then here comes the issue with the competition now.
Competition.
And that is what he was suggesting between the March and June. And in a comment earlier this week, I made the point that this is where we need to probably have more competitions and more sporting activities, not just competitions, sporting activities rather, in the communities, in the villages, right? We tend to look at it just as probably, when it comes to the village, cricket or probably football, but we need to have more sporting activities. And sporting activities mean whether it's track and field. By the way, I think Moncton, every year Moncton has a sports, track and field up in, I think it's on a Good Friday, right? And things like that. So, and I attended it once and it was big. It brought out the folks from Moncton, Paradise, all the surrounding communities and things like that. So, and there's no reason why playing field in, and sometimes we always think about, the stadium, right? We have a lot of these playing fields in those communities. You have and if we could stick on the track and field, for example, you have a track and field competition where you can bring out the folks from Union and where and the surrounding areas, and then probably wherever in St. Patrick, you bring out the folks from the various. They're representing their villages, their communities, not necessarily schools. You understand? Yeah. Consider what that will do for them. Right?
But Michael, there is a. Let's just look at schools for an example. There are more activities in football, netball, maybe volleyball if they do play that, and cricket than track and field. There are more competitions than track and field in the schools. The primary school have their own school meet, then they have the parish meet, then they have the inter-parish meet. 3 meets. That's it. Same thing goes for the high schools. They have the inter-school meet, then they have the intercall. They may go to one other meet in between. They may have the Eastern Games, Western Games, and that's it. That's all. So as much as we want to do that, they also have to have either the school meets got to start earlier so they could have more competition. And say sometimes you go to a meet, it doesn't always have to be a full track and field meet where you have all the events. You could have different events at different times. You don't have to take the full team with you, but you have different events and certain people, but there is no competition for them. There is no pre-competition for for McDonald College before the intercall team. There is no games where you take them and go bring the relay team in so they can, practice. There's nothing like that.
Well, as a principal,
but in soccer, in football, they play amongst other schools. In cricket, they play amongst other schools, and they play several games. Right.
That's why. This is Jeffrey from SAS, the principal of SAS.
Yes.
She was suggesting about the reintroduction of the Eastern Games, for example. We had the Eastern Games and we had the Western
Games. Western Games, yeah.
Yeah, Western Games. And
probably it was in St. John's. Yeah.
Yeah, probably that to me will be
because then even when we went to the Western Games, it was the actual school team. So it was that team that's going to compete at intercall.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I'm telling you to because sports is basically school-based, right?
Yeah.
Because even you had the Western Games and primarily schools, you had the Eastern, which was primarily schools again, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you don't have that many clubs. If you
No.
do have a Western Games, you may have probably 2 or 3 clubs from the Western, and all the rest will be the schools, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for Eastern, probably Aces, and then all the rest will be the schools, etc. And even with Aces, some of the athletes from Aces are actually in the school, right? So sports in general in Grenada is sort of school-based to an extent, the competitive part of it, except
Aspect.
for
Yeah.
probably the GFA, where you have the teams and things like that. So that is why we need to have the club structures, and more club formation. And if we do have that, we can see even after as post-secondary school, more of them involved in the clubs, and there will be more competitions for the clubs in areas.
So
So,
it's time for us to put some pressure on the parish sports councils, so that they can start,
but
putting
but
those
not
things in place, because a
hold on.
lot of it falls on them
But,
and that based on what they are saying, what they would like to put in place is to see more of those structures within the
yeah,
parishes.
but Rudian, but there are individuals who can take on that initiative on their own. Now,
True.
the parish councils will probably be able to assist, but in terms of the initiative, I wouldn't want a parish council to go and create a club in my community. That has to be our initiative. So folks in the communities have to come together and put structures in place to form or strengthen, where possible, clubs. For
But isn't
example,
that one of the reasons for the parish council, because those
but,
things are not happening, so
but
that the parish council can come in
no, no, no.
and put those things in place?
Well, no, no, not necessarily to form, but to
Hmm.
provide to assist and etc. And things like that. So, right, funding, all these sort of programs, all kind of thing. But the initiative lies on, because the parish sports
Yeah.
council don't know what's happening in my community. For me, I
Yeah,
am the one
definitely.
who can come together with a few folks and say, hey guys, let us form a club, or let us strengthen our club to include etc. So for example, there's no reason why, and I mean, and that's just an example. Hurricane, for example, has been a staple in the community in St. Mark's, well, particularly Victoria, for how many years? There's no reason why it shouldn't be Hurricane Sports Club. And from Hurricane, you have, apart from the football, you have
Hmm.
cricket, you could have
Netball.
netball,
Yep.
volleyball, the various sports. You don't have to be all the sports at one time, but somehow you can keep branching out. There was this sports club in St. Andrew that formed, and they formed specifically for um, volleyball. And after their first year, they were able to add netball. And I'm certain, well, I spoke to one of the folks involved, and their plan is to keep adding other sporting disciplines, right? And that's what I'm saying. You're strengthening, and in some places you can form clubs, proper structures, because hey, these days we have a lot of teams, eh? And my problem with those things with teams, because when you have teams, the captain or the captain is the manager, is everything. He attending council meetings, everything. No, you have proper structures in place where you have, an executive, you have meetings, and you discuss, issues and things like that. So in terms
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
development of the club and things like that. So, and you can have a couple sporting disciplines, you know.
Hmm.
These are the sort of things that I think will
Yeah.
help in the long
The
run
help.
if we
Yeah.
have proper
Yeah.
clubs, right? Let me take a couple more and then let's wrap up. Phew. I agreed, Pastor Stevenson with Worm. The responsibility lies on TAMCC. They have no structure. Rondell, good afternoon. What do you think about the ideas that I presented? Yeah, you presented that to me, Rondell. You need to present it to the public, Rondell. Yeah, but Rondell has some very good ideas. But Rondell, again, is getting people to buy into those things. I mean, very good, but it's getting the folks to buy in. And it's specifically, I know for the Western area, it's from the St. Mark, St. Patrick area and things like that. But it's something we probably can discuss in the future, Rondell. Thanks for reminding me that. Mona is saying, let us as Grenadians look at the bigger picture. Grenada is a very small island in order to keep them focused, keep them involved so that they do not fall on the wayside. I think that is very important. Keep them involved. To keep them focused, keep them involved. Oh, yes, good day to you, Mr. Carl Blackman. I know it's as Rudian started saying, it's raining. Sorry, it's snowing in your area. It's raining in New York, I should say. It's raining in New York. Also, a track and field calendar tend to be structured for secondary school students. And so here is Mrs. Abel Jeffrey, as I like to give her a full title. She's the principal of the St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School, SAS, and the chairperson of our Secondary School Games Association. What is making it impossible for Tom City to have sports similar to how primary and secondary schools have their inter-house sports? And Mrs. Jeffrey, you know what is making it impossible? The authorities in Tom City. I think they are the ones who are making it impossible. If for years we are saying that, and look, Pastor Wom added to what we were saying earlier, that they had folks who were part of the program before, the Nat Simpson, the Anthony Dixon, the Cyril Cox, etc. And it seems as if, probably they didn't want it, But I'm saying that to say, even if they don't want it, this is coming at the perils of our student athletes. Okay, they must not be punished, right, for the ill wills of the authorities of the TAMCC, and I think that is where the ministries of education and sports and the others have to get involved. They have to get involved because TAMCC is a statutory body. It comes under the Ministry of Education, I believe, right? It comes under the Ministry of Education. So there must be some involvement at that level. And it's time, I think, for them to see that TAMCC needs to have a structured sports program to ensure that our sportsmen and sportswomen at the institution are involved. And by extension, the NULO and other tertiary institutions. Sports should play an integral part of the structure of those institutions in the context of Grenada. I think, that is the only way we can go. I think the association should continue having mini meets after the CARIFTA Games so that it accommodates the senior athletes, but the mini meets as it is now don't really accommodate the senior athletes. You need to have it so that it can accommodate them. So it needs to be structured in such a way that senior athletes can participate, right? Other countries are not really advertised or made attractive as options. Well, yeah, it goes back to the other options for our students, right? Kyron says the US is certainly not the only option. We could have secured a pro contract in the UK, but decided against that, as the USA is the mecca for basketball in that regard. So based on the sports. So for example, football, you will probably try to gravitate your footballers to Europe, right? I think. Enel St. Bernard, good afternoon to you, Enel. He said definitely a lot of other options for sure. And he says, thank you, Michael Bascom. We'll go all out and show out for sure. Yeah, we're rooting for you. So all the best, Enel. And congratulations once again, leading the team. And you can have our support. I think all of Grenada should be supporting you, just as how we supported our track and field athletes. We should be supporting when our Grenadians are doing well. And I want to thank you very much. And what is so interesting, and thank you, Kyron. Thank you to the Kellen Batiste Foundation, Inc. as well, because within that short space of time, how Enel moved from Grenada to the US and just probably weekend after weekend, week after week, just keep improving.
Yeah.
It says a lot about the talents we have here. It's just getting the opportunities. And that's what I'm saying. If we had the proper structure again, Rudian, we can harness more of those Enel St. Bernard, right?
Yeah.
Hey, your boy is saying, like your boy Toro comes out under the cover from the snow boy.
The snow. I think so too.
Good idea, but however, these initiatives require organizers and organizations. Plus, there would be expenditure, sponsorship, or out of pocket. And that's why we're saying one of the things, Toro, I do believe, and as you say, Organizers and organizations, yeah. And once we have proper structure, because I think sometimes these days the sponsors need to position themselves with proper structure. Once they
Proper
have that
structure.
confidence,
Yes.
proper
Yes.
structure, I think you
100%.
yeah, you survive that.
100%.
Most of the children in the clubs are in schools, certainly. This is where the club's inclusion will help, and it's not just school based, right? Quincy said there was a time we had invitational races during school sporting events. Yes, we do. We had those things. When you have a school meet, you have an invitational race, and you
Yeah.
invite schools and
You invite schools to come in. Yeah.
that. And I was making, this is Jeffrey, I was making that point to your husband. He's stubborn at times. Imagine the kind of argument you folks have when it comes to football. But I hope things subside by now. But no, I was making the point that just as how you have the invitation races for the schools for special ed, you could have 2 or 3 invitation races for the tertiary, for example, right? I know, for example, GBSS, the school sports will have an invitation race for the Anglican High School. PBC at St. Joseph Convent has similar things, right? Especially when one school has their meet before the other and thing, they give them the opportunity to come and compete and things. So that's a good idea where you can have that within a particular meet. You have some races where you invite schools or organizations, whatever. Very good indeed. Midwestern Promotion Inc. annual track meet, 20th April. No. So that's last year. Aline, that's last year. Tell me what is the date for 2024. Remember, we're in 2024. We need to hear them ideas. Rondell, yes, we need to hear them ideas, Rondell. And Abel Jeffrey saying love to Enel. Oh God, that has to be a sass boy, okay? And us listening from the bus terminus, tune in a bit late. Would you like to see the powers that be highlighting our athletes leading up to games individually or collectively in a frame for supporters to get familiar with them? Certainly, like the CARIFTA Games, for example. Only a few days ago the team was announced, right? Okay. But somehow the team could have been announced and added to that a little profile of our athletes themselves. Who is who? Because you need the support. I'm certain the Bahamas and Jamaica and all of them know who is who. But certainly, yeah, who is who? So Arlene is saying this is 20th of April 2024. So the 20th of April, there is a meet in a track meet in Tantine, Roy St. John playing field, okay? And before you leave, Bass, I want to know whom you and Rudian backing in today's Copa America, do or die, Canada or Trinidad. Well, I know I probably could say Trinidad, but you and
I've been watching the way the Canadians play. They're playing very well, so I will support the Canadians.
All right. Carolina United, when founded in 1975, was involved in football, basketball, water polo, and swimming, netball, and road races. In 2024, Carnage cannot field a third division football team. Organizations and organizers are critical. That is the bottom line. And that is why we need folks to start being involved once again, at the village level. Because mind you, a lot of the folks who became big administrators, the Roy Stanley and Walter St. John and all these folks, they were involved at the club level. They started at the club level. So we need to start getting these people involved at these levels, the club levels, and certainly we will get them, to some extent, to organizations and even at the national level. But I think that is the critical part, right? As we get ready to wrap up, let's see. Mona is saying Argentina. By the way, we have quite a number of international friendlies on today. I know one of the games on today would be, I think it's England and Brazil. England and Brazil is one of the games on today, if I'm not mistaken. We have a number of friendlies because it's a window. So before I leave, let me just give you what's happening today. In terms of friendlies, is it today? Yeah, we have the friendlies. So Zambia, well, no, that the interpenalty, Zambia and Zimbabwe, Malawi, Kenya beat Malawi 4-0, and Ivory Coast and Benin 2-all. Ireland playing Belgium, it's 0-0. Austria leading Slovakia 1-0. Denmark and Switzerland up next. England and Brazil, France and Germany, French Guiana and Haiti, Tunisia and Croatia. That's some very important football matches, as you say, on today in international friendlies. There's a lot of we have the CONCACAF Nations playoff championship playoff, Jamaica versus Panama. That's tomorrow, sorry. And then the championship game is between the USA and Mexico. So Jamaica and Panama in the third place playoff, and then USA and Mexico in the final. And that is on Sunday. But certainly today, quite a lot. And we have a lot of Major League on today as well. MLS, as we call it, Major League Soccer on today. And then the international friendlies as well. So folks, and then there is the boys and girls champ that should be starting. Well, should have started in the last 20 minutes. That's where I'm headed to now. So Canada versus Trinidad and Tobago at 1 p.m. Well, no, 1 p.m. my time. That's 3 and 4 o'clock Eastern time. And then later on, we have Honduras and Costa Rica, the CONCACAF Nations League promotion final. Okay. Wow. Lots on today on television. So if you have folks, yes, let's get it. So Germany beat France 2-0. And Kelsey is throwing today. Yes, Kelsey is throwing today. And I think we also have Gamali Felix, who should be running in San Diego, I think, today. And then we have some other track athletes who competing in the boys and girls champs as well. Looking forward to quite a bit. Rudian, footnote, no program come next Saturday because it will be, the focus will be on the CARIFTA Games in Grenada.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. One last question for you from your boy. They'll be playing against Canada. Don't worry. They playing against Canada. Don't worry. I know you're really looking for that matchup, but it's coming. It's coming. I know you'll be the force in that stadium. It's coming. Don't worry. So final remarks from you, Rudian?
No, definitely. It was a good day, and then thank you to everyone for your questions, for tuning in. We want the best for student athletes, and what we have now, like we say, is the TMR show, and we would like to see something for them, and for that to happen, they have to put the initiative of having programs in the school so that things can happen. Until then, like I said, we can talk until the rooster come home, and nothing we can do. So we're hoping that in the near future something could happen to extend our student athletes so they can continue in the love of the sport that they play in every discipline. We'd like to see some changes, like I said, in the high school. See some of them go back and because of the age difference, stay back in high school and continue competing. It may not be all the high schools in Grenada. It may be just a few. And then see them competing, and then they can continue, with the education. And there's a lot that can be done. There's so much that can be done. We want to see more events happening for the athletes. We want to see, yes, the CARIFTA Games, no stadiums, a lot of things that happened this year, but we would like to see more happening for the athletes. We like to see more, I am working on putting a tournament together for Grenada. Will be hosted by McDonald College, something that I'm working on. We will provide everything. All the awards will be provided by us. We're still working on what sport and discipline it will be, and it will just be like a invitational tournament. It could be netball or football, we're thinking. Working on that for hopefully next year. that we could have, the past students of here in Toronto put together, the awards for an invitational, Magna College hosting an invitational netball tournament. They invite some schools and just had them play more games and just had them do something different, from what they're accustomed doing. So definitely looking forward to, a lot of things in the near future. But good luck to our Grenadian team. The team looks good. You see the coaching staff, and we're just hoping that we can get some medals more than we have done in the past since we are hosting. We just want the people to go there and support them from wherever you are. If you have to tune in online, if you have to, get the package, through Sportsmax and definitely watched it from there. That's what we have, and those who are going, be safe, have fun, enjoy, the spice. But I think the team looks really good. I think we can do very well. I think the character, we're gonna make the people in character proud. I think there's a lot we could do and a lot we're gonna do, and I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, well, I hope so too. And judging from what I saw, some folks believe that the CARIFTA team was selected from the Intercol Championships. Unfortunately, no, they
Yeah,
had the national championships, right?
yeah,
The Intercall would have been an opportunity for those who have been selected or those who they were looking at, being considered,
to see
that
them again.
to see
Yeah.
them again and probably a
Yeah, you
last.
might have two or three people, and you have a last opportunity to do something, and
Yeah,
but
that's
also, Michael, truly, I would like to see this Grenada and a home. I'm not talking about the rest of the character game. I like to see Grenada have a standard, but put it out there so the kids can work hard, can push hard and throw far to say yes, I want to make character standard. I would like to see that, and I think it could be a helpful tool for the athletes. They know, hey, I'm very close this year, but next year I probably could make the standard. I want to work hard. But if you just selecting the team based on performance, I think I that this is me. This is my opinion, and that's what I would like to see, some sort of standard. You can push the athletes to go. They work hard, like I said, to make that standard. So
all right.
yeah,
So as I said, no program next Saturday, but we return hopefully, God's willing, on the 6th of April. Right, that'll be
yeah,
the first Saturday in April. But
yeah.
just to to just wrap up, that's how maybe your final comments here. I just putting it for what it is. Roger says, well, he just reached, but as usual, he gave it a little comedy. He says that I'm at a marriage conference. This what happens after intercall. And then I'm late to the program, but the issue with TABCC is that there needs to be an adjusted schedule where the teachers can accommodate the student athletes. Also, being in TABCC, they are pressured to get a job instead of run or compete. The entire faculty system needs to embrace the student athletes, athlete system, right? So that is, I think, that to me.
It is good, but at the same time, the faculty is the faculty, and there are people still higher than them that put things in structure and in places.
Well,
the faculty don't put certain things in structure, so we got to get the director, we got to get those who in charge.
Unless they're directives, unless there's a policy, there needs to be a policy in place. So if you have a policy, then the folks can follow the policy.
They'll follow suit. Yeah, they will follow suit. The faculty members will follow suit, and then you can bring in. And there might be outside coaches that just want to volunteer. They would volunteer to coach.
Instead of us procrastinating on that, it probably might be best to see if we can get someone from the ministry.
Let's bring somebody on. Let's bring somebody on and hear and get their point of view. In that way, we could either stop talking about it or keep pushing it.
So. Yeah, right. So, folks, that's all.
Are you going to the mainland? Are you going home?
I'm hoping to. You remember, I'm still in.
I know you're still out there. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, yesterday I had a team building session and we're actually in the Grand Canyon, right? I have some amazing photos I'll be putting up on my social media. Amazing photos. It was an experience, the Grand Canyon. So it was quite an experience getting there.
It is one place I like to do, and it's on my list when I travel this year to go out to. go
It's
there.
worth
So
it.
yeah,
And anyone listening, if you can have a family time, and by the way, one day is not enough. You need more than a day
but I'm one
to
day.
take
Yeah,
in that splendor. The sunrise and the sunset, magnificent. So, yeah, folks, that's all for this weekend. Hope to see you
in two
um,
weeks.
in 2 weeks' time
Yeah,
on the platform. And certainly for those of you in Grenada, please go out, support the athletes, support track and field,
yeah,
and as usual, provide the warm Grenadian hospitality as per usual. And when you
yeah.
see good track and field, good performances, please applaud these athletes,
Give them
encourage them.
credits.
Not
Yeah,
just about Grenada, right? It's about our future. And that's why Grenada is hosting, because we're getting an opportunity to see what some of those future athletes, because
can do.
2, 3 years from now, you might be hearing a certain name and
Yeah,
you'll be able to say, I saw this person, I remember this person at the KJSAS, and things like that. Thank you very much, folks. All the best. And Rudian, thank you very much. And
that was
please
a pleasure.
be safe in the snow, right?
I
Be safe in
know.
the snow. And, all the best. Thank you very much.
All right, Trevor.
Okay. Right. So that's Rudian Sylvan in Toronto. And as he indicated, yeah, a lot of snow, late winter. In fact, a lot of snow in Toronto, and a lot of rain in New York. In fact, it will be raining for the whole day, I understand, in New York. Thank you very much, folks. Well, Mona and Kyron, I mean, the whole list. Anne, yes, Anne Duncan, thank you very much. All the folks who chime in, and not forgetting Toro, as per usual. Quincy, somehow we need to chat. I think we have some very good points there that you made that we need to chat. Aline, if I can get some more information on that meet at the Roy St. John playing field, that's, I think you said April 24th. Yeah, I would really, really like to get some more information on that. And thank you very much, Mrs. Jeffrey, Dan Abel Jeffrey, the principal of the St. Andrews Anglican Secondary School. I believe they probably, from all reports, still celebrating, and they have reasons to celebrate. Not my type of victory, but what can I do? I have to join you all, and congratulations once again. Look forward to 2025. I know 2025 will be a bumper year. And if it's one thing I will hope is that the planning, starting early, taking all the various suggestions and things, and see how we can make 2025 a bumper year for the Intercol Championships. In fact, we should try to get more people coming to Grenada. Just as how we get people coming for the CARIFTA Games, let's get folks, because in 2025, there wouldn't be anything per se to, as we say, jam the Intercol. You wouldn't need to do any major adjusting as you had to do this year to accommodate the CARIFTA Games. So I think the planning is important. We should have the save the date very soon. I think you should give us the save the date as soon as possible, because that's what we did last year. Recall, we did the save the date in our post intercall interview. We gave a save the date, and it's something I think we want to do again. Thank you, Pastor Stevenson Warm, Pastor Merriman as well. Thank you very much for being part of our program, and we look forward to having you on the program come, not next week again, on the 6th of April. Let me make that correction. Yeah, on the 6th of April, we should have our new program for the month of April. Thank you very much, and do have yourself a pleasant